During the colonial period, the representations of indigenous groups were modified in complex ways, and this process continued during the independence movements and the creation of new nation-states. What role did the new states assign to indigenous groups within their geographical and social imagination? How did maps function to concretize forms of dispossession of indigenous lands, bodies, and legacies? Nations, reparations, and justice. Today, many actors produce maps: news agencies, public services, businesses, as well as indigenous, African, Afro-Indigenous peoples and their descendants. During the colonial period, the list of map makers was smaller. In the 16th century, the Spanish crown created an updated world map, the Padrón Real. It was a master map used to produce other maps, something similar to what Google Maps does today, though the updates took much longer. In the 19th century, independence declarations changed map production and circulation. Cartography during this period continued with the organization and division of a world already considered known. Some new nations embraced forms of inclusion related to the modern idea of mestizaje, but others rejected the inclusion of marginalized communities in white citizenship. The truth is that the formation of states turned previously wild or desert lands into national territories. Indigenous groups that were allies became second-class citizens. Enemy groups and many African, Afro-Indigenous, Afro-descendant, and Cimarron groups disappeared from the maps under two forms: social and biological mestizaje and the metaphors of the desert or jungle. Of course, these spaces were not empty. There were people there who were subjected to campaigns of subjugation and extermination. Thus, the frontier continued to advance. The nation's borders expanded over what had been indigenous, African, Afro-Indigenous, and Afro-descendant territories. Invisibilization and dissolution of identity have been some of the strategies in which national states incorporated these marginalized communities. Military cartography refined its techniques to serve multiple purposes. Maps create a distance that enables the military action without guilt. There are no longer illustrations, fantastic or decorative elements which contribute to the idea of scientific document that neutrally reflects reality. But no map is neutral. 19th century maps worked to legitimize the territorial dispossession of indigenous groups in the Americas. National maps, with their defined borders, deny all the violence that gave rise to these new nations. In the 20th century, maps created nations, internal enemies, centers, and margins, and were presented as the most up-to-date version of reality. Much of their work was achieved through the increasingly refined development of thematic maps. These maps only show what exists or what the map makers say exists. Another variation is maps of indigenous languages. Here, maps do not show communities, families, or groups, but rather speakers. Another concern addressed by thematic maps is what is known as racial distribution, which primarily affects Afro-Indigenous, African, and Afro-descendant peoples. White scientists largely led the discussion, and maps echoed this perspective. These ideas will return in political discourse, and we can recognize them today in discourses about migration in different countries in the Americas and the world. Throughout the 20th century, the technical possibilities in map construction led to greater abstraction and the capacity to represent the social world in previously unseen ways, based on a planetary geographical consciousness. States also generate information, censuses, and statistics based on national-scale social research. Cultural and technological advances in data sciences, produced by states but also by some megacorporations, have had a significant impact on new maps. Maps of happiness, crime, poverty, health, or education all work in one country or a group of countries. Citizenship, as the main category of these maps, hides the presence of marginalized communities. In recent decades, different nations have begun processes of Indigenous and Afro-Indigenous reemergence. This phenomenon also refers to groups that recovered their Indigenous identity through work on memory, the reconstruction of lineages, and the rehabilitation of ancestral territories. Thus, once tools of dispossession were used, colonial maps became evidence to advance causes of repair and territorial restitution. Additionally, Indigenous groups and individuals have taken authorship and produced mappings of their territories in the past and present. These maps acknowledge the existence of Indigenous peoples and nations worldwide and present demands in relation to nation-states. These initiatives have yielded concrete results and have also become exercises in autonomy. This is not the end of the story, but a step towards envisioning future maps. What forms they will take, who they will include, and what world they will shape. Dispossessions in the Americas. American Archives for Just Futures.